We live in uncertain times. Racial unrest in our streets, COVID-19. But really, all times are uncertain. Most of us have never seen anything like this pandemic, or anything like the unrest in our streets we have seen in the last few weeks. And it leaves us afraid and depressed and anxious. Of course, every generation and every society has its own defining moments. Pearl Harbor, 9/11, the assassination of President Kennedy. All those come to mind as moments that defined a generation. For the ancient Israelites, the Exodus event was the major one. The Israelites had been slaves in Egypt for 400 years until the Lord used Moses and his brother Aaron to rescue them. And the way that the Lord rescued his people was a series of extraordinary events culminating in the Red Sea parting to ensure the Israelites' escape. It's no mind-blowing fact that it's etched itself into the collective memory of the people. It's become a defining moment for all of the subsequent generations of the Jewish people. To this day, Jews around the world remember the astonishing events of the night that the Lord rescued the people of Israel from Egypt, and they call it the Seder. Today, we read Jesus calms the storm. You'll recall that the disciples were literally at sea in the middle of a storm, but Jesus commanded the storm to stop, which it did. We forget that faith has the power to do that. But what happens when Jesus doesn't calm our storm? What happens when the storm is raging all around us, when our fears and anxieties about anything, including our present pandemic, or anything else have a grip on our hearts and minds that our thoughts and emotions get all mixed up, churning in our stomach? What happens when we pray for people to get well, for people not to lose their jobs or homes, and we wait and we wait? Today's reading from Matthew's Gospel offers us some real help, some real approaches, walking on water. They think it's a ghost, rendered in the Greek phantasma, from which we get phantom. And they don't even see who it is. I guess if we were in the same boat, pardon the pun, I would be too. And if we read even deeper in the text, we find two peculiar words, I am. And this simple phrase recalls again the Exodus story, the one that every Jew is familiar with. I am that I am. Tell Pharaoh, I am has sent you. We are seeing some incredible miracles here. He who made all things is proving he is not defined by the creation that he spoke into existence. He can walk on water, and we still do not understand scientifically how that happens. But notice also, the storm is still going on. Whereas earlier in Matthew's Gospel, Jesus calms the storm, here in Matthew 14, Jesus doesn't calm the storm, but he lets it rage on. Jesus' concern is to comfort the disciples with his presence, and that's enough. For it seems to these men all they need is for the Master to say, it's okay. Sometimes it has been said, God calms the storm, and in others, he comforts the child. So why does Jesus calm some storms and not calm others? Well, frankly, I have no idea. I simply know that I need to remain faithful and committed to Jesus, trusting that he knows what he's doing, even when I don't. And when all the things around me are rough, he alone is in control. Perhaps is why Matthew includes this little story about Peter. It seems, Peter wants to be like Jesus. Hopefully we all are seeking to do that, but Peter wants to be like Jesus. So he wants to get out of the boat and he wants to walk on the water. Note, that's discipleship. Following Jesus. If he says, come do this, then we're to come do it. And Jesus commends Peter for this, calling him forwards. And Peter starts well. Usually we do too. We start well, we have it all in our heads, we know what we're going to do. Presumably, he keeps his eyes fixed on Jesus, trusting that the Lord has everything in hand. But then suddenly, perhaps realizing the crazy nature of what he's about ready to do, Peter loses his focus, and he allows the storm to overwhelm him. And then he starts to sink. Lord, save me! Now, I'm sure we can identify with Peter here. We've all been in stormy situations. We've been where we think the water is going to rise up to our neck, or perhaps we think we are sinking in deep mire. And perhaps even more so in this moment, we identify with this human nature of a follower of Jesus. Don't be distracted by the surrounding wind and the surrounding wave. Don't let it obscure your vision of Jesus. Do we do the same? I mean, really, do we lose focus? I do. I'm human. I think of the storm all the time. I think of every time that I have obstacles that are put in my life that seem insurmountable, and I say, how can it be? And I have to remember, keep my eyes fixed on Jesus. Yes, we do. Jesus doesn't always calm our storms, but he is certainly there with us, for he is Lord over everything. He walks over the sea. He walks over the craziness of our life. And he's never far from the boat. God does not test us beyond our ability to withstand the test. So today, rest in the one that could walk on the water and part the Red Sea and call us each out of the boat into new and uncertain times. Go in faith. We know not what the storm will bring. Sometimes he'll settle it, but sometimes he'll be there with you through it, comforting you in the midst of things you cannot understand, and bringing you into a new season